Hello again. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the webinar, The Exponential Business Pathways. With the title here, some of you may have a different title, but it's going to be pretty much the same content. Again, welcome to all of you. My name is Sunil, Bhaskaran, and I'll be leading your webinar. And again, it's a pleasure to have all of you here on the call. A couple of things about me, and then we'll get into content here pretty quickly, okay? So I'm the founder of what's called the Global Meetup Mastermind. It was formerly called the Meetup Mastermind. Now it's called the Global Business Mastermind. We just rebranded. I have about 120,000 meetup organizations, probably the largest business or small business meetup organization in the world. Comprises many numerous meetup groups across the country. I started that in 2008 and have continued to grow it. We're growing at about 800 to 1,000 new members around the country per month, and been a business mentor, owner, author, speaker since 1991. The other thing you want to know about me is I was a successful entrant in 2016 for what's called the Shark Tank for Experts, and for presenting a lot of the ideas I'm going to be presenting to you here. Actually, we've gone way past a lot of those ideas in the last 2 years, and I joke about this a little bit with my mastermind, but I say, most of what I'm doing right now is you could envision like a video game in my business. I'm operating at about a level 8, and most of my masterminders are anywhere from a level 1 to 3. So there's a lot of sophistication in what we do with the innovation that we use to generate large audiences. And I'll share some of the easier, more salient, more important points for some of you who are not familiar with a lot of this and haven't been to my webinars before. I look forward to doing so. Let's see, my vision here is to create 100 million joyful and successful entrepreneurs in the world by the end of 2027. The structures that I'm about to share with you here today are really building up in a good way towards that goal. Still got a way to go, but I feel like we're really on track. And with the wolf packs that I mentioned later on, and the masterminders and the distinctions that I use, including something called the God and the Goddess of Confluence. You'll be able to see how you can tie in your business or your projects into what I'm up to here as well. There are two things that I primarily do for my customers and my clients. The first is that I create a client pipeline done for you. So I act as your marketing department, and I essentially put appointments in front of you. This is a very expensive program, and frankly, we're quite full right now in terms of this service. We are no longer taking any clients for this service. The second thing we do is what we call the Global Business Mastermind, which is you get a lifetime membership into this mastermind, where you get to build collaborations with people who are very generous, vision-minded, and ambitious to generate audiences in a collaborative way. You get an opportunity to be promoted to my 120,000. We're missing a zero there, I apologize, but 120,000 audience. And you get an opportunity to build a large webinar audience nationally and globally in a very innovative way that's very different from what other people do it. And we use a combination of Meetup, LinkedIn, and other platforms to make that work. And if you do the work right, it goes pretty well. I do not promise any overnight results at all in any shape or form, but I do promise if you do the work and you do you have a brandable service that makes sense, that you can build a fairly large audience, anywhere from 7,200 to 10,000 at least within the next 12 months. And I say that with utmost of confidence because we've done this several times, and the mathematics bears it out. Barring any large catastrophic thing that happens in the world, it's a very good chance you can generate that. You get an opportunity in the mastermind to work with what I call wolf packs in each city. Wolf packs are groups of 4 to 6 people who are in my mastermind who organically decide to work with each other. They have non-compete businesses but complementary audiences. And so you can create a wolf pack based on geography as well as your target market. So we have, for instance, the Houston Business Networking Wolf Pack. There are, again, three women and business owners and me who collaborate to pretty much with the intention of dominating the Houston market with selling to business owners and professionals. We also have the Santa Cruz and San Jose real estate investment wolf packs. Again, the same principle is there, and I teach people how to do this. It's a very unique program. I don't know anybody else doing it the way I do it or my collaborators do it. What you will get in this specific webinar is I'm going to cover what is Meetup and what is LinkedIn, why Meetup and LinkedIn are your best bets, and how you can work both of those things. Now, some of you may have used Meetup and LinkedIn, may have had some disappointing to really great results, but I'm going to show you how you can actually really combine a lot of these platforms and make it even more powerful, especially when you add in the collaborative aspect. I'll show you the basic steps for generating an audience, the opportunity, why it's a good idea to start acting now. There's a great opportunity to do so, and I'll reveal that towards the end of the training. And then a very simple, concrete, totally free step to take to make this real for you. And I'll share that as well. Feel free to ask questions that are pertinent to the program in the chat box. If you go to your navigation menu for the Zoom system that we're using today, you can click on chat and then ask your questions there. Okay, and I just ask that you respect my time in terms of asking questions. If it's too complicated, you may want to take up the offer that I'm going to offer at the end, which will give you some time to talk with me. Okay. And all right, let's get going here. So a couple of things before I dive into the content really quickly. Who is this training for? This is for business owners, anyone with some expertise that they want to market and advertise. Coaches are another example, not limited to coaches, speakers, authors, bloggers. We work with cryptocurrency experts now, real estate investment people, financial planning people, people with big, huge visions for different causes. We are really quite a good ranging group of people. We have a lot of diversity compared to a lot of other networking kind of mechanisms out there where you can't really compare us to a lot of the networking because we're global and we're way more innovative and far-reaching than most other systems that I've seen out there, for sure. We work primarily with service professionals, but we do work with a couple of people who have products that seem to make sense. Again, I'll be offering something at the end. It's completely free. It's a short chat with me to find out if this is a match for you, okay? So this is an important question to ask, and it's a question that most people fail to answer, but it's like, you know, when you get married, you always want to ask, why do you want to get married? You know, if you want to become a soccer player, it's a good idea to ask yourself, why do you want to become a soccer player? What's the big deal? Because if you don't know what the big deal is, why you're doing this, then you may be losing out some of the motivational or inspirational power that really drives an entrepreneur and a visionary forward. And I see a couple of you have some questions. I promise I'll get to you as soon as I can. Okay, I just want to cover salient points so I can bring everybody along at the same time. And I certainly appreciate the questions. So why build an audience? The first answer is obvious, right? And the first answer is, well, you want to build an audience so you can, you know, build clientele and get more business and actually make more money. But the second answer is not so obvious, but is actually the most important answer. And the most important answer is that you need an audience to test and refine marketing. Most people think of an audience like an afterthought. Okay, I'm going to start a business. Okay, now I need to find an audience once I've gotten my product and service going. Well, sometimes that could be late, or what you might find out after a while is that your audience doesn't match how you're trying to market your service, your product, or your service and product doesn't really match or make sense to your audience that you're trying to build. you want to find out sooner rather than later what your audience or your guest audience or intended audience really needs. So you need an audience to test and refine marketing. And I know the system I have works for most businesses to test and refine your marketing so you can improve it constantly. This is why we say we do not promise overnight results. You want to make sure you work within and inside of integrity to get the kind of results that your audience wants. Because there's nothing like having a system or a sales engine that works consistently because your audience comes to you rather than you pay massive amounts of money to reach out to people who may not be interested in what you do. So the key to building a business is, one, building an audience. Secondly, engaging an audience. Thirdly, converting the audience into paying or committed partners with you or clients. And then building collaborations, which is big number 4. And again, building collaborations tends to be something that most people don't think about, but you want to start thinking about building an audience, engaging, converting an audience, and building collaborations from day one. In fact, day -1 is when you should be starting to think about all of these salient points in a business. So what's the opportunity today to fulfill your vision in terms of Meetup and LinkedIn? Meetup is growing. It's currently about 37 million people. I think it's way more than that because the people at meetup.com, which is the platform being used for this, what I do, I don't work with meetup.com at all. I just use it as a platform to build my marketing. It's growing, and it's certainly growing. What I'm seeing is there are way more serious people coming to my meetups. About 20% of the people coming are very serious about doing something, and that's because I do it right, I do it correctly. And Meetup makes money. It's almost the main form of marketing I do. I don't pay any money for Facebook ads. I don't do any LinkedIn ads. I don't do any kind of other advertising. I do get lots of referrals. I do get speaking gigs, but they are mostly generated through my meetups. Meetup used right is what's going to leverage you, because 99% of the organizers out there do not do it right. And that's something you want to be very clear about, especially those of you who have done meetups thus far and have gotten either good results or not so good results, but haven't gotten great results. What I'm saying is there's an opportunity to get great results if you do it right. There are many things that most people do wrong in the launching of the meetup, the events, the groups, the promotions, the narrative that they put on the meetup are not compelling enough, nor are they set up correctly, systematically, to build an audience for you. Meetup is also innovative. One of the things that I like to share with people is that I get about 30% of my business from people searching for me on Google for things that they would search for me to find me and my services. But they do not find my website. They actually find my meetup groups first, which leads them to me. Now, this should be a big ding-dong bell, alarm bell in a good way for you, because this is a very effective way done right. It's not overnight. It takes a while for Google to recognize this, but it will, mathematically speaking, it will. If you set up the right number of meetup groups, you can build up a pretty good presence for yourself for most businesses and in most cases, okay, that I've seen. All right, the early adopter gets the audience. So getting on meetup.com and doing it right, and I underline the word doing it right, makes you a first adopter. Just because you had a meetup group before doesn't mean that you really are a first adopter. It's really about doing it right. The opportunity is now, as Meetup is growing. Meetup just got acquired by a large company called WeWork, who specializes in renting out and purchasing in office-based real estate and office-based space. Very good and remarkable purchase, I should say, and we've been certainly benefiting from it as well as my mastermind. We, as a mastermind, collaborate with WeWork as well, and we get free locations, etc. So there are lots of advantages when you get on early in technology that seems to be growing and makes sense. So what is Meetup? It was started, it's a meetup.com. It's a platform. Like I said, I'm not affiliated with Meetup in any way, but I do use it as a platform. It was started by two gentlemen in New York back in right after 9/11 in the year 2001. They built it as a platform to help people connect as a community. It has about 37 million members. It's in about 184 countries out of 190 possible countries. There are two ways you can use Meetup. You can use it as a free user. A lot of you have come through this webinar through being a member of my Meetup groups. But as a free member, you can search for interests that you are interested in, find Meetup groups that you want to participate in. And when you join a Meetup group, you're invited to join their events that are pertinent to that group. And so you can join for free. You can search for free. Some Meetup groups are paid for. Some Meetup groups charge money. Just depends. So that's one way you can participate in Meetup. The other way is as a paid organizer, and that's what I want to focus on in this conversation. As a paid organizer, you pay $89.94, and you using one email account for each account, you can get up to 3 Meetup groups. So you want to pay attention to this because people get confused about this from time to time. But as a paid organizer, you, for each email address that you use in one account, you can have up to 3 Meetup groups. Now you can have many accounts under each different email address. So you can have many like I do, but in each account, you'll get 3 Meetup groups. Each Meetup group could have a different collective of interests. So you could have a Meetup group that's a collection of members who are interested in raising alpacas, for example. You can have another Meetup group that's purely interested in learning how to market their businesses. You can have another Meetup group for health consciousness, for example. Of course, if you're in a business, you may want to have your Meetup groups pertinent to your topics that you want to sell people on. But for the main point is for every account, you can get 3 Meetup groups. In each Meetup group, you can post as many events as you wish. And recently what Meetup said is in their policy is that for every in-person event that you do, and they require, if you're going to have an event, if you're going to have one event, it needs to be a in-person event. But for every in-person event you do, you can do a webinar. Now, most of you should be going, whoop-de-doo right now, because that opens up your sales funnel here, and you're no longer limited geographically to a location. You can now use the power of Meetup to advertise and promote webinars that you can promote using the Meetup system. You can do it completely legitimately, okay? Meetup does a wonderful job of automatically managing your events, the RSVPs, reminding people to come, reminding people to RSVP. If you're collecting payments, you don't have to, but if you do collect payments for your events, you can do so using the Meetup system as well. So it does a really great job doing that. There are at least 6 ways to make money on Meetup, but I'm going to share one standard way. It's a standard model that I use. In fact, I'm going to use it today. It's a very simple model. You have an event. It could be an in-person event or a webinar like I'm doing right now. You do an educational presentation for anywhere from 20 minutes to 30 to 45 minutes. And at the end of that presentation, you make an offer. That offer could be a paid offer where you're charging people for a service, or you can offer a free consultation that's scheduled for another date and time. And people come to that free session, they get a deeper dive in what you do, and then you upsell them to your paid service from there. It's a very workable model. It works really well. And you can make a lot of money doing that as well. If you're selling memberships or subscription model stuff, you can use this model as well. And there are different ways to do that. But that's the standard way of doing or making money on Meetup. Of course, like I said, there are many, many, many other ways that you can do a workshop model. You can create a mastermind, a high-level, expensive mastermind program on this meetup.com platform. You can use the emailing service as long as you do it right to promote your webinars, etc. There's lots of ways you can do this, okay? Again, if you have any questions, be sure to put them into the Q&A box or type them into the chat box at the top of your within your navigation menu. Okay. Now, some of you are asking for a recording of this. I'm not going to send out a recording necessarily. And I'm not going to send out the PowerPoint just so because, it's just to be in integrity with what I present. So just to let you all know, okay? And if you need to correct your email address, let me know by putting it in the chat box, not in the Q&A if you don't mind, so I can just organize it and make sure my admin takes care of that. Okay, I really appreciate that. Okay, so there are a couple of stages in how to build an audience, really, not just on Meetup, but on almost anything that you do. So there's an initial setup, there's a growth phase, and there's an explosive growth phase. Okay, the initial setup is when you design your Meetup groups and your events. Now, I really mean this. A lot of people I see get on Meetup or do marketing without really thinking through the design. You would think people would do this, but they don't. And even when they do think that they're doing it, they don't really. So the correct way to design, or one way to, or effective way to design, is to start with the end in mind. Got to look and see what you're ultimately going to offer or sell. What is your paid offering? Your primary paid offering, some of you may have several, but when I think of your primary paid offering, one that's most juicy, most expensive maybe, the one that you make the most money on, and you want to define that very clearly as what people are going to get in terms of problems solved or goals achieved. And you want to have a sexy hot topic for it because, people buy because of emotional reasons and then justify them with logic. So you want to have a good, emotionally well-written offering to start with. And then once you have that, then you work backwards from that and you design what you're going to offer at the end of your presentation at your Meetup event or your webinar or your LinkedIn group events that we also help people do. So you define then what you're going to offer. So it might be a free consultation, and at the free consultation, you offer your paid service. But you want to define now your free service. You don't want to just say, oh, I'm going to give you a free consultation or a sample service or a discovery session. You want to sell it again. You want to make it hot and compelling with good poetry that's meaningful and doesn't leave people just being in a romantic sense, but also has them be compelled to do something tangible with you. So you want to create something that's compelling. Again, you want to have a sexy hot title for the free session, and you want to have 4 or 5 bullet points that illustrate what people are going to get out of the free session. If you don't sell your free session, even if you have it for free, people are not necessarily going to buy it, okay? Especially when you're first starting out doing this, it's imperative to understand. Once you get your free session or what you're going to offer at the end of your Meetup event defined, then you work backwards from that and you define and design your Meetup event. And this again, voila, it has the same format. It's a sexy hot title. Some of you may have seen my Meetup events that I posted. And then it has 4 bullet points that promise people what they're going to get in the event. You got to tell people what people are going to get. Otherwise, they're going to be hazy and they'll show up either out of politeness or show up because they think they're going to get a quick answer to something that may not be realistic. So you want to do it with an integrity. Then from there, you can design your Meetup group, what it's going to look like, who you're going to attract, what kind of target markets you're going to go after. Meetup has this beautiful system where you can define 15 target markets so you can really target the people within your area. Once you design your Meetup group and you set it up, you have to apply to Meetup with an application you fill out, which has the description, titles, etc. of your Meetup group and your event, and you submit it for application to meetup.com. Now, there are certain things about timing of applications that I'm not going to share in detail here today because it's a lot more complicated to explain. But most people fail in their Meetup groups applications because they do the applications at the wrong date, at the wrong time, resulting in very few people seeing their email promotions for your Meetup group. Now, but if you do it right and Meetup approves your application, then it does this beautiful thing. It does a really, really beautiful thing. What it does is it advertises your group and the event that you have in it, or events that you have in it, to everyone on meetup.com within a 50-mile radius who have expressed an interest in those target markets that you define. Now, that's very cool. I don't know anybody else who does it for that same pricing. So you got to know and understand how to do it right. Otherwise, your launch will fail. What you want to do is the kind of launches you see in the photographs here on the slide, that result in you taking off and escaping the gravitational field. You want to make sure this rocket called your business launch, your meetup launch keeps going. So once you do that, then you've got an initial setup. Now your meetup start growing. Now, this is the other mistake that people make. They only do one meetup group in one location, and they think that's what's going to make their business. It's a bad mistake. You want to have several meetup groups. And having several meetup groups in one location doesn't mean you're going to do more events. You're going to have one or two events funneled to by several meetup groups. So, eventually you may want to have 12, 15 groups that feed one or two events per month. Now, again, some of you are thinking right now, I know, you're thinking you could do this by yourself and, not learn from the mistakes I've made, but that's a big mistake. You want to make sure you do this correctly and in the right way and avoiding all the problems that most of the people encounter. But once you do that, then you're in the growth phase and you start seeing a buildup of people coming to your events and groups. It's going to be slow initially, but it does build up over time. And then you start getting more and more serious people. And then collaborators start noticing what you're doing. The people who are savvy at the top, like me and a few other people, will notice you and want to collaborate with you. And it's always more fun to have people come to you who want to collaborate rather than reach out to them. Okay? So this is the growth phase. This is also where people start doing webinars. They start noticing a Google bump, which is a good thing because Google starts noticing you with what you're doing and rewards you very well. So you have a growth phase, but the explosive growth phase is when you bring in the collaborative partners like me and other people who have larger groups to collaborate with you. You start doing webinars so you don't have to be limited geographically. You also start doing LinkedIn outreaches done correctly though, and about the initial to the growth phase, and by the time you get to the explosive growth phase, it goes very, very well. Those of you who are speakers should be paying attention, okay? Because one of the things about reaching out to and getting speaking gigs is speaking organizations will hire you and more likely to hire you if you have an audience, because if you have a meetup audience, you build way more credibility. But the other more brutally honest fact is they like the fact that you have an audience so you can promote the event that you can speak at to your own audience as well. So you see, if you have your own audience, speaking organizations are way more likely to hire you. And it's certainly been my experience, and that's only been growing for me. I get approached by people who have conventions. I've spoken at the San Jose convention and other conventions as well. And that's primarily because I have an audience that I can show people, okay? There's one other thing, but I'll cover it later on. But that's basically some of the basic steps, okay? And I just want to make sure I answer questions. You have to pay for each meetup group. Yeah, I mentioned this earlier already. Listen, essentially what you're going to be paying for each group, and really mark my words on this, okay? You're going to be paying $5 per month for each meetup group. I'll repeat it again for the hard of hearing. You're going to be paying $5 per month for each meetup group. It's $89.94 for 6 months for 3 groups. I don't know of any other way of generating a large audience as long as you do it right, you do it within the rules of Meetup. I don't know of any other system that does that. So yeah, can it grow expensively? Yes, but you got to look at your return on investment versus risk. In my experience, it's a no-brainer. And there are ways that you can mitigate the risk, ways you can test and refine. It's just such a great system to use. Okay, so yeah, so it's only $5 to, yeah, not a problem. I know you got on late, not a problem at all, and it's really, really, really affordable. And when you start doing webinars as well, it grows even better. So I'll emphasize, we haven't done any Facebook ads. Well, we've done a few just to test it out because we wanted to test out Facebook ads. And by the way, I'm not knocking Facebook. Sometimes Facebook ads make sense, But the people I know who are doing it really well are typically spending on the order of tens of thousands of dollars and making like hundreds of thousands of dollars. I don't know very many people who are spending about a couple of hundred and making a few thousand. It's almost very rare. I see that. I imagine there are some cases, but it doesn't happen a lot. So hopefully that gives you a sense, okay, of how you can make this work cost-wise. Okay, I'm not going to answer general questions about who bought Meetup, etc. But because you can pretty much find that out in Google. Okay, I just want to focus time and respect everybody's time here. So you can find that out by pretty much going on Google and finding out who bought Meetup, etc. But really, any other questions about other stuff? Totally happy to entertain. Okay, all right, great. So I'm going to move on here. Again, I just want to make sure I serve everybody. Just make sure you ask questions that have to do with the content here, especially. You want to pace yourself. Some people tend to burn themselves out by doing it too fast. I tell you can pace yourself. Some people are very ambitious. They can handle the time. There are people I know who start out right away with 12 groups and they really generate a lot of results. And that's a really good way to do it. But you don't have to. You can start slow as well and build it out. Okay. We're in for the slow build because the slow build will help you define, design your sales engine over a year. I tell people it's way better to get a sales engine that feeds you for 5 years at least than to get immediate clients. Now, it's always good to get immediate clients if you need them, okay? But you want to balance that out, make sure that you do not burn yourself out. And if you are ambitious, go for it, but make sure you pace yourself. What is LinkedIn? Most of you should be on LinkedIn. If you're not by now, get a LinkedIn profile. Even if you just put your name on it, I would do it. It's an online profile that helps promote your business, some of your career. You can promote your career or your next job search. But it's also becoming more and more primarily for entrepreneurs these days and visionaries. And I meet a lot of them on a daily basis on LinkedIn, the way that I do the outreach, and I train people to do the outreach as well. By the way, in our mastermind program for the first 3 months, because I believe in the system so much, I actually avail my own admin to do 3 months of outreach on a daily basis. I underline the word daily, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, to reach out to anywhere between 60 to 100 people for you to build this out. The reasons I do this is because the combination of LinkedIn outreach plus meetups really, really helps increase the number of really good people you can connect to. Because when they see that you have a meetup group and an audience you're building, again, they're more likely to collaborate with you. I'm pretty sure a few of you came through my LinkedIn outreach on this call. I'm glad to see you here. And you probably understand very clearly why you came on this call or this webinar to find out more about what I do. You can build an audience by making invitations in a very personable way, and I underline personable. And we do it very personably. And you can also attract more people to join you because the LinkedIn people who are savvy marketers will notice you if you're doing things the right way. If you're building traction, they will notice you and they will reach out to you. I will reach out to you if I see you doing this because it just makes sense for me to do so, because there's nothing like meeting another savvy business visionary who knows what he's doing or she's doing. There's nothing like that. It's the best friendships I've ever developed, and it's what I love to advocate for y'all, is to really start having business people who really work loyally with you that develop into good friendships. Then you can also learn to engage and convert the audience with good messaging, creating LinkedIn groups. When you combine the power of LinkedIn groups with your meetup groups, it gets very interesting. A very simple example of this is if you had a local meetup group. Let's say you had the San Jose Business Breakthrough Networking Group as an example. Well, you have the same name as your LinkedIn group on your LinkedIn profile, San Jose Business Breakthrough Group. Then you get very interesting results with Google over time because they see that you're doing this on LinkedIn, on a meetup, and it just gets very excited to promote you even more. Okay, just a big hint right there. But again, you got to do it right. If you don't do it right, if you think you can just slam something together overnight, you're probably not going to do it. If you think you're going to just hack through this, think again, because it'll be a waste of time. Okay, and I don't want to waste your time. LinkedIn and Meetup power. So Google traffic increase, I shared that already. To get the best of both worlds. high-level connectors and large audiences. Now I'm going to pose a question for you all. And this is a very important question. A lot of you come to me and ask me, how do you get connected to all these high-level connectors? How do you get them to come? I just had the Director of Economic Development at the Santa Cruz meetup that I organized last night. People come up to me and say, how did you do that? Well, it's very easy. People tend to come to you when you have an audience. So why are they attracted to me? Well, the main reason is for two reasons. High-level connectors, both business and political-wise connectors, will connect to you if you have two important things that are established. One is that you have a very good narrative that's very clear in your business. People don't have to scratch their heads and figure out what you're doing. A, and B, it's compelling, it's interesting, it's unique. You don't sound like everybody else. If you say you're a chiropractor and I help people get adjusted in their spines, you're going to have a lot of people falling asleep on you because they don't know how to collaborate or connect you with other people, because their people will look at them and go, well, what makes this guy different from other chiropractors? So you got to be distinct. You have a good narrative and branding behind you. And in my program, I really make sure I handhold people and make sure that their branding is up to par so we can promote you. If you don't have good branding, you can't promote you, and high-level connectors won't connect with you, likely not. The second reason is if you have an audience, not just a large audience, but you have somewhat of an audience, because high-level connectors or medium-level connectors like to come and speak to your groups. Or do you want to promote to your groups? Or do you want to promote other people to your groups? They're very generous with their loyal partners. So they want to know, hey, do you have an audience? If you don't tell them you have an audience or you don't have an audience, it's not much of a reason for them to connect with you. It's really, really important to understand this. You just can't go out and have a nice, fancy business card and think you're going to get high-level connectors that way. It's just not going to happen. Or if you think you have a world's greatest service or product, it's not necessary that high-level connectors are going to want to connect with you. Okay, and this applies to high-level investors as well. I used to be a member of a high-level investor forum, the Keiretsu Forum, and very familiar with that too. It works the same way. You got to have some traction. You got to show people you have traction, that you have a good narrative. If you don't have a good narrative, you don't have traction, it's kind of difficult for them to justify working with you. So you can develop credibility of both kinds of audiences if you work with LinkedIn and Meetup at the same time. Okay. So again, this is kind of a refresher here, what I'm displaying on the PowerPoint here. Steps to creating a pipeline. There's a design and planning phase, there's the execution phase, there's a growth phase. I'm not going to go through all of this in the interest of time, but you can scan through this. These are some of the steps that we go through with my mastermind to create your meetup groups and your LinkedIn groups and get your branding correct so that your sales pipeline and your engine that feeds you consistently, okay? So coming up very soon here, I'm going to share what the opportunity for you is in working with me and working with my collaborators and other people as well. And I'm also going to share why I promote my clients to 75,000 people. Well, actually, it's not 75,000. This has not been updated. I apologize. It's actually 120,000 plus and growing. I'm going to share the salient and more very important reasons why I do this. And you want to really pay attention to this, what the golden opportunity is for you, okay? But first of all, I'm going to offer what I do, the mastermind. So you get an opportunity to get promoted to 120,000, my own audience, once you get your branding up to par. If you work with me in this paid program, I will work one-on-one with you initially for about a month and a half to get your branding up to par. You can tell I'm really serious and passionate about making sure your branding is up to par so that you have a compelling story that I can introduce you to other people. You'll get to engage with, actually now it's 67 other ambitious, generous visionaries and entrepreneurs located around the world and nationally, plus other collaborative experts I've known from my experience since 1991. You'll get to build your own LinkedIn high-level connector network, and I'll help you do that. Collaboration with me. You'll build your own mass-scale meetup network targeted to your desired markets. You can build your speaking career and your webinar audience as well. And you can build an audience so that other people are attracted to you and come to you. It's a lifetime membership that we're offering right now for a limited time. And the current pricing for this is $5,997 for committed people who have urgency in moving forward. I'm willing to do a payment plan. If you're interested in talking to me about this, not everybody is a fit for this. I actually do turn away people, and I really do turn away people for this program because it has to work. Uh, yeah, listen, I'm a businessman like everybody else, but I also know what works and what doesn't work. Some people are not going to work in this program, and I'll be quite brutally honest about it to save you a lot of time and energy. But if you're a fit, I'll let you know that you're a fit, and I'll tell you how it works in a free 15-minute conversation. So you can actually go to meetupchat.com, and I put this in the chat box as well, so you can get a sense of how this program works by talking with me. Okay, it's completely free. There's no charge for this. There's also a generous discount only for people who are ready to go. But the first step is to go to meetupchat.com and get the free 15-minute conversation with me. Okay. These are a couple of testimonials of people that I've worked with. Charlotte Jacobs, some of you are in the coaching world will know who Charlotte Jacobs is. She has trained probably tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people who are healers and chiropractors and coaches, especially in the Bay Area down to Southern California. When I first worked with her, I helped triple her income. How I tripled it is I looked at what she had to offer, and we fine-tuned the offering, the branding. That's a lot of the work that needs to be done. But when you take a look at it and have a pretty good eye for it, if you change a couple of the ways in which you make the offer, it starts making more sense to people, and your sales cycle gets shorter and it's a lot easier to sell. A couple other testimonials here. Cami Baker started Boston is a very competitive space for Meetup, but we got a wait list and 75% over capacity in her first event in like 48 hours from the point that we did the application to meetup.com. Juliet Clark is in Salt Lake City, and similar results. Paul Wood has a video-based product or service, and similar waiting list. We don't guarantee you waiting lists, but they do occur if you continue doing the work. Like I said, you never promise overnight results, but you got to do the work. Okay, you got to be willing to do the work. I found that the primary factor in success is the willingness to do the work, the willingness not to give up. And sometimes it's appropriate to give up and do something else, but you got to try it enough times, and you got to test out your markets enough times before you say, okay, there's no business here. So the main thing is you got to really make sure that you're willing to do what I call short-term suffering for long-term joy. To get to long-term joy in business, you got to put in the short-term suffering to make sure your strategies work and you're building and testing your audience. So how do you create breakthroughs in your business? Firstly, you create more groups. A lot of people stop at one group, or they think they're only doing one channel like LinkedIn or Facebook, and they think that's enough. No, you got to create more channels, more groups, more ways that people can find you. You want to do webinar and virtual events so that you can take advantage of the internet and not be limited geographically. And we train people how to get masterful and how to do webinars and virtual events and live streaming events. I can do traveling show. Those of you who like to travel and do business, this meetup is a great way to do that. Works really well. Cami Baker that I shared with you earlier, she did that too. It works really well for those of you who like to travel and do business. Same thing you could do, like travel, go to a town, enjoy the town, and then do a meetup in the evening, do some business, and then move to the next town. The tornado effect is when you get Google working on your site and it notices that you're working on LinkedIn. You have several LinkedIn groups maybe, or several meetup groups, and it starts seeing that, sees that you're doing a lot of stuff that's a commonality with certain keywords and starts promoting you heavily. You can build your tribe on Meetup. This is very imperative. I could spend like a whole 2 days teaching people on this. But this is something I teach people in the mastermind too, is how to build but more importantly, how to engage your tribe. About 90% of it is based on who you're being, not even your psychology, but who you're being, what kind of vision you have. Are you sharing the vision? Are you learning how to engage people in their vision as well? Are you serving them adequately with your communications? Are you effective in your communications? These are all the factors that go into building your tribe. It's one thing to build your audience, it's another thing to build your tribe. You can also build an email list using Meetup. There are ways to do that very well. It works really well. So you don't have to really be reliant on Meetup or LinkedIn over time. It should be really welcome news to a lot of you. You can distribute content on Meetup as well. It's a big surprise for a lot of people. And then actually works pretty well. A lot of people won't read your content necessarily, but because of the cross-linking, it actually can improve your traffic to your own website. And then, of course, doing collaborations. So when you put all of this together, it creates a very powerful tornado effect overall to build your business in a good way. Okay. A couple more testimonials here. Eric Kamel's guy I work with, he actually has a meetup strategy for his agents that we're doing in San Luis Obispo. That's working really well again. And it's a really great way if you have a team. Meetup is fantastic. If you have a team, you definitely want to come talk to me. If you want to build your team successfully and you're already getting some traction with your team, but you want to get more traction, definitely come and talk to me, because there are great opportunities on Meetup and LinkedIn in a very innovative way. I promise you, I don't know anybody else is doing it in the world right now the way that I do it and I teach it. That's not an idle boast. I just haven't seen it anybody else do it the way we do it. More testimony. I'm not going to go through all of this. But Julie Parker, lady at the bottom, has a magnificently growing group in Houston. It's growing even faster than when she did this testimonial for me quite a while back. I currently have a wolf pack with her in Houston called the Houston Business Networking Wolf Pack. I think we have 2 other people in there as well. And we're building really, really well. When you have a lot of people with 12 groups each, or a couple of groups each even, oh man, it's so beautiful, because you have so many options to do webinar exchanges. So I can do a webinar to her group in Houston, and she can do a webinar to my groups in San Jose, and build out our audiences across the country. I don't know of any other way that does that, So these are some of the testimonial, a quiz here. Okay, so why do most meetup or other forms of audience generation fail for most people who try? So why do most meetups or other forms of audience generation fail? Well, because people are not doing it right. They don't have the right launch date. They don't have the right narrative. And this is the big one. They don't have the right target market. They think this is the right target market, but it's probably not the correct one. What is the #1 profound mistake made by most businesses in marketing? The answer is marketing strategy does not lead thinking and decision making. They have it upside down. They think they have an idea and they lead with the idea without really thinking through, is this idea going to attract the right target market? Is it going to help me sell the kind of programs that want? Do I understand the market enough? Do I understand their pain points? Is my solution addressing their challenges and their pain? Or is it not? You got to really think marketing strategy first before you attempt to do any experiments. You want to do smart experiments, not unthought through experiments. What is the greatest risk of all? What is the greatest risk of all for most entrepreneurs? What is the greatest risk of all? The greatest risk is opportunities lost. Some of you may have seen saying, well, you could lose your business, etc. Yeah, that's true. But you see, for most people who are thriving in their business, if you're focused on a marketing thing that's not really giving you the kind of returns you want, then you're losing out on other opportunities. And what you want to do is really build out and test out opportunities that may make more sense for you. So why is it urgent to take action right now? The biggest risk is opportunity cost. And the biggest opportunity, I would say, especially in the context in which I'm speaking, is the opportunity to collaborate with me and get promoted to at least 80,000, not 120,000 of my people. And why is collaboration so important? Well, in this day and age, when you have so many people distracted, having a collaborator who will edify you with their audience, who champions you, is becoming more and more important. So you got to find the right collaborations. And the basics of collaborations is the art and science of setting up a partnership. So you got to find out, this is the right partner. Do they have the same goals? Are their goals in alignment with me? Do they have the same values? But more important, they have the same goals, objectives, milestones. Do their expectations correlate with mine? And the #1 factor in attracting collaborators to come to you is make sure you have the right environment and the right message. So your narrative has to be clear, good. You also want to set up the right environment. Now, I believe I have a very good environment for that because we have very friendly but generous and very ambitious and very on-the-ball collaborators in my mastermind. And that kind of group attracts people. That's why we get collaborations with WeWork. WeWork just purchased Meetup, and we collaborate with WeWork, and we get free locations from them. They came to us. We didn't go to them. The reason they came to us is because they heard about me and my group through my collaborators. They saw what we were doing. We were doing it en masse. They were attracted. They wanted to see what we were up to. Okay, so a big factor. I think some of you are getting this. Most of you probably won't. The few of you who are, this is really how you want to turn your business around, have more people start coming to you rather than the other way around. So a couple of quick questions about the mastermind. How much time does it take? Now, if you're asking this question, the question I give back to you is, I'm going to answer the question. I'll say it doesn't take up too much time at all. It takes on average about 3 to 5 hours, depending on what you need. So you have to talk to me and I can give you a more accurate answer. But typically it doesn't take up too much time. I will say, but the addition to the answer is that, see, if you're running a business, you want to plan on having effective marketing time that's about in the order of 10 to 15 or maybe even 20 hours a week. And you want to really take what I just said very seriously, because if you're not willing to put in that time, then you put yourself at risk and you're putting yourself more at the fate of luck rather than anything else. And luck doesn't really favor everybody. And so, you want to look at really spending at least 10 hours a week on your marketing overall. And I promise you, after our conversation, I tell you, based on what I hear, it makes sense, then, it's not going to take up much additional time. In fact, it shouldn't take any additional time. This is time that you'll see after I talk to you during a 15-minute conversation. It's time well spent. It's time that you got to spend on your marketing, okay? So I invite you to really start thinking of your time as valuable, but also it's not so much a factor of time, but your brain bandwidth. Are you coming up with ideas and thinking that's going to translate into money? I found that it's not just coming up with a good idea, but actually thinking through the idea, making sure it makes sense, running it by other joint venture partners, etc., making sure it makes sense before you execute. That's where you save more time. Do I take payments? Yes, in limited cases, you have to demonstrate that you're committed and you're ambitious and friendly and generous like other people that I have in my mastermind. But yes, we do take payments, but they're very rare, okay? Usually we take a full payment amount, $5,997. The price, by the way, for the mastermind is going to go up to about $10,000. We were advised to do that. The market is bearing up that cost too, it seems like. So just to let you know, okay? If you are new and have no audience, will you be a fair fit or waste people's time? Actually, really honestly, I'll tell you this, because it's a brutal, honest truth. I do not care if you're new and have no audience. I will take you in only because you demonstrate that you're willing to do the work in the short term. And people who are willing to do what I call short-term suffering for long-term joy are the kind of people I love to work with. If you do not fit in that category and you want a quick answer, I will not judge you. I promise you. I will not come to any conclusion about you, but you will not be a good fit in my program. But people who are willing to do the work have a longer timeline of expectations for a year in generating income, or generating a sales. I'm not saying you shouldn't generate income, and people do generate income in the business, but in the mastermind. But you got to set realistic expectations, and you've got to be willing to do the work. If you are, then this program will work for you. Okay. Again, what I'm offering is the Global Business Mastermind. You get promoted to 120,000. My own audience, once you get your branding up to par, will work with you to get your branding up to par for as long as about a month and a half for the first part of the program. After that, you go into weekly calls. And these weekly calls are done webinar format, and there are a variety of times that you can join the calls on. So we include people in Europe and people on the East Coast and West Coast as well. And you get to engage with my other ambitious, generous visionaries and entrepreneurs in these calls. You get to build your own LinkedIn high-level connector network. I mentioned earlier, for the first 3 months, we pay in full. You'll get a system. My admin team will personally reach out to the people on behalf of you to connect with you. And as many as 60 to 100 new connection. Requests to connect per day. That's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I do this because I really am committed that I get a really high quality partner I can work with and promote. You can also build up your own mass scale meetup network targeted to your own desired market. You can build your speaking and your webinar career powerfully, build audiences this way, and credibility as well. Build your audience so other people are attracted to you and come to you. This last one, most people don't get it, but this is the sweetest thing ever. When you start having people reach out to you who are credible, masters themselves and experts themselves, and they have large audiences, it becomes a lot more sweeter, easier, and more fun. So I'm offering a lifetime membership for a limited time. The advertised pricing right now is $5,997. That's the pricing right now. You can go to meetupchat.com. That's www.meetupchat.com to get a free 15-minute conversation with me if you're interested. Only if you're interested, please. There's a generous discount only for people ready to go. And after I talk to them and making sure that you're a good fit. Okay, so I want to make sure I don't waste your time as well. Okay. So again, you want to go to meetupchat.com and get that free 15-minute conversation with me. If you run out of time or time slots on there, which might occur, has occurred in some of our previous webinars that we've done, just reach out to me and I'll make sure I post my email address before I leave. But please don't email me with questions pertaining to general questions. I'll try to answer them on the meetupchat.com thing, okay? All right, a couple of testimonials. So some of you are in the Bay Area might recognize Joyce Hannon. She leads the Promote Her Business networking group, which is specialized for women in business and male allies who promote her as well. So she takes in male memberships as well. And she's a great partner for me. I actually Wolfpack with her and Avi Greengold, who's another very successful networker in the Bay Area. And she totally is a total champion for our program, as you can tell from her testimonial right in front of you. Jory Fisher, wonderful, wonderful lady, business owner in Baltimore. And I have a Wolfpack with her as well. We've got 4 members. She's so excited. She hired an admin for the Wolfpack. So the admin hires a lot of or works on a lot of the setting up the meetup groups on our behalf. It works really well. It's a good return on investment, solid, it's fantastic, has huge growth potential, and very, very excited to work with her. So I will be with you if you're interested and committed to doing the same thing. Julie Parker, I mentioned her earlier. Also, she's also got a Wolfpack with me in Houston, and we're looking. I'm actually got some big goals for her as well. Dallas is another big market that we could go after as well. So there's lots and lots of potentials here. Probably haven't even mentioned 10% of them. So again, we're offering the Global Business Mastermind. To get started on this for free, you can go to meetupchat.com if you're serious about doing the mastermind. If you are urgent in starting it in like next week or so at least, or the next 2 weeks, you certainly want to reach out to me. If you're not ready, you're not ready. There's nothing wrong with that. If you have the budget for the $5,997, certainly set up a time on meetupchat.com to talk and get the free 15-minute conversation with me. I look forward to the possibility of working with you. And again, I thank you for all the questions I've gotten so far. Again, I'm not going to email the presentation. I know one of you has asked that. In the future, make sure you enter in your email address correctly, okay? All right, great. So that's pretty much it. Make sure you get on meetupchat.com and get your free 15-minute conversation. You guys have a great week ahead, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.